So modification time, guys. Now the reason why I've chosen this Addiesdive is all in it cost me about £70, and that's a great value watch and automatic movement, good all-round build quality. And I was thinking there's a few things that are bugging me about it that I think I could improve, and that's where modification comes in. So today's stealth mod is based upon parts you can easily find. I'll give you links to all the bits and bobs where you can get them from, and just to show you the difference you can make with a few basic tools which you can get online and just giving it a go. And that's what my video is all about. I'm an amateur. This is just me learning as I go and sharing with you sometimes my mistakes as well. Hopefully today's video is going to go well if all goes to plan. And without me waffling on for too much longer, let's get stuck in. First thing I need to do is get my rubber gloves on, and then I'm going to take the bracelet off because that will be changed and I don't need that. So to get the bracelet off, we just use a spring bar removal tool. You get that in here where there's a gap to release the spring, and you pull it away and down like that, and it frees off the spring. You do both sides, and you push with your finger at the same time as releasing, so it helps pull it away from the watch. And that's one side done. Next thing we need to do is get the back of this watch open. So I'm just going to clear the way a bit, and then it's easier for me to work on the watch. So we put these bits aside. Now to open the back up, you have these little notches in here in this screw-in case back, which you would want to get a case back removal tool on. This is one of the many tools that came in a set I bought for about £18 on Amazon. It's most of the bits you'll need. There are actually additional extra pieces that you will need to buy to make this overall just a bit easier, but I've learned that along the way, such as a puffer. You don't get that. I've bought these carbon tweezers, which you don't get. These are better because they don't scratch or ever get magnetized. So along the way you'll see all these kind of bits. So I'll try not to waffle too much. You want to see it in action. So a good practice as well when you are unscrewing a case back is to use a bit of plastic. If you've seen my mod videos, you've seen me done this a lot of times. And the reason why is if when you're gripping and you slip a little bit, you don't end up slipping and scratching the watch so much. It just helps you do a nice job. And another thing to do is just to, before you start, is to get this all adjusted. And I should have done that before I press record. So you have a screw in bit there. That's just to screw this foot to line up. So these all line up really well. So now I can place the plastic. God, bits rolling everywhere. And it helps if you have a decent table, but mine is as good as I can deal with right now. So you get it gripped in place and you twist. See, I slipped a bit then. It's good. That's why you need the plastic. It's gripped in there. There we go. Nice twist, and that's freed it off. And you can either continue unscrewing with this because it's now there's no tension. It's just finishing it off with the tool. Or I could do it with just something that's got a bit of a pointy end on it, just to do this. So we've got the case back off, and what we're going to do is we've got to get this movement out of the watch. And the way you do that is I use one of these pinboard pins just because it's nice and easy to use, and I'll show you where you press to release the crown and the stem. Just there, there's a little lever that when you're pressing that, it frees off the mechanism that is gripping this crown stem into the movement. I'll let the dog out because he's growling at the neighbours. So I'm pressing on that little tab, tiny little area to press, to be honest. And then this crown's already unscrewed, then you can pull it out. It's easy as that. Now that should just be being gripped in place by the movement holder that comes as standard with the movement. As you can see, it's like a grey plastic, and that will need a little bit of leverage just to free it off enough so I can turn it out onto this movement cushion holder thingy. So that's what we're going to do next. Is I'm going to get my little flathead screwdriver. I'm going to show you a good little points where it allows it to be levered out so you don't slip and potentially damage the movement. Now where's it gone? Now I'm just being cheeky and I'm levering it at this sort of flat piece of metal here where the crown went in. There's nothing delicate there, just to get a bit of leverage. As you can see, it nice and easily sort of came loose. I'm just going to gently tease that some more. See if I can do the same the other side here. And I'll just see if this turns out now. There we are, it does. I'll put that face down that way, try not to gather any dust over here. I can now put this in. I've got this on AliExpress for about £15. I actually got it from Felida. It's actually designed specifically to hold NH35 and equivalent, i.e. NH36, etc. movements. So I can place that in here. I need to place it where the crown went in, just so when I put the crown in just to reset the hands to 12 o'clock, it's in the right place. So the crown's around the 4 o'clock. So we can have a look and see where that is. Goes in there. So I'm going to place that in the movement holder. It's in there nice and snug. I'm going to pop the crown back in because this helps with me resetting the hands and things like that. So as you put the crown in, you just give it a gentle wiggle as you put it in. So you don't want to ever force it in place. It's very gentle, and then you just should feel a positive click. When you try and pull it out, it won't come out. So as you can see, it's got hacking, and me pulling it out has stopped the second hand from going round. So what I want to do, just so it makes it easier to take all the hands off at the same place, I'm going to let the second hand run round to midday. And I made sure it was nowhere near it turning over to the next day on the date wheels, just to stop any damage to the mechanism. So I'm just going to allow that to carry on ticking round. And then I'll pull the crown out to stop the movement from allowing the hands to move anymore. As you can see, all the hands are now aligned at 12 o'clock. So I need to remove these hands because I will not be keeping these. New ones are going on. And the way I'm going to do that is just put one of these dial protectors and slide it underneath the hands. Just got to wiggle it in place so you don't snag on any of these raised indices. Then I use these levers to get underneath the hands, and you have the angle so it goes like that, so it's flat, and then you lever like that and it plucks the hands off. So I'll do that for you now. There we are. Put these aside. Now I can carefully take this dial off, and the best way to do that is just, it's got little feet that push into the movement, and the way I do that is just a gentle bit of leverage, and it should just pop off. And I'll show you those leverage points. So you've got one gap here above the crown. Just give it you pop a little flathead screwdriver and give it a twist, and that helps pluck it away. The same the other side, you just get it in there and give it a twist. A few other points if you feel like it's not coming out fully. And there we are, it's off. Now I'm not taking any of these day or date wheels off, because this is the NH36 movement. There's no harm in those wheels turning underneath the dial, because that whole time it had a day complication turning under there, and it's obviously never an issue. It's totally fine. There's the clearance between the dial and those wheels turning for them not to snag, so it's a total waste of time to remove them. So now it's time to get the new dial out and get that on the movement. And here it is. Didn't want a date wheel, I wanted some symmetry in the design. I went for stealth because it's just black and white and a little bit of text on there to help break up that expanse. And I think it's good having that large triangle at the 12, helps sort of cut into that possibly blank space near that sort of top half of the dial, so it helps give some symmetry again. Another clever thing I went for here was, remember the loom on the bezel insert in this watch is blue, and the loom on the dial on the hands was green. What I wanted to do to create some symmetry was, I went for, there was an option with this Namoki dial to have it with either BGW9, which is blue, or C3, which is green. So I would thought, let's match the loom in the bezel and the fact it's got blue AR coating on the crystal by having the BGW9 option on this dial. So we have anything that glows or has a reflective property is blue. So it's matching. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that with the hands. They didn't have that option. So there's a contrast with the hands, at least, against the blue. That's why I did it. Now here's something you need to see here. You've got extra feet on here, because this will work with either the 4 o'clock position or the 3 o'clock position for where the crown would be. Now this watch, as you know, because you've seen the watch, has got the crown in the 4 o'clock position. So I'm going to show you the original positions of the feet on the dial that came with the watch. And I just have to replicate that by snipping off the ones I don't need on the new dial. So we know that this dial, I'll place it face down like that in the correct orientation. And I'm going to do the same with the new dial next to it. So I know that that's 12 o'clock there. So I have to have that facing up. Now I just have to copy where these feet position are. So I don't need that one there and that one there. So all I have to do is snip them off. And the way you do it, I use these little pliers, needle nose ones, and I will literally pick up the dial from the one of the feet I don't want to keep, like that. What you do is you hold it like that and just twist a few times, and it just comes clean off. And then I'm going to do the same for the other one. Make sure I get the orientation right. So I want to keep the one that's higher up in relation to that one. So I'm going to get rid of the lower one. Same again, twist, comes clean off. Now we can get the old dial out of the way. So that's helped us out with what I need to do with this dial. Now that should just push straight back on. And the way I know it's going to go in the right place is that around the 4 o'clock position is where the crown used to be. So I just place this on here. Wrong fucking ones, I always do it. It's just going to be a ball ache now. No, because I'm an idiot and I have no idea what I did wrong, other than I obviously wasn't concentrating. I snipped off the wrong blooming feet. I've done this before with the dial, so I have to take all the feet off now and use dial dots. That's so embarrassing. So the good thing is you can stick them easily, these little sticky adhesive dots, which I had in. I've put them at 4 different places on the movement holder around the edge. And when you stick the dial down, it's just as good. It's just not as easy to line up, which is a pain in the butt. So I've done these little markings on the movement holder to where 12 and 3 o'clock is. So I can, when I stick the new dial down, it'll line up. It's not the end of the world, but it's a pain in the butt. But that's modifying for you. So now I'm going to get this dial stuck down and make sure it all lines up. There we are. Oh, now it's time to get the hands on. So the new ones are in here. Let's get this crap out of the way. Now to pick these up, we can use Burgeon, Rodico, which is excellent for picking up these awkward little things. Start with the hour hand, not the minute hand, that would help. So pick the hour hand up, that's always first. Place it at the 12 o'clock, because that's where I left the movement set. Gently nudge it over with the tweezers. So that is seated just about in place. I'm just going to get it absolutely fine tuned like that. And then I'm going to push it down in place with a hand pusher, which I've got here. So I gently push and I rock till it's seated in place. And to make sure that's seated in okay, I'm just going to move it around to a different hour position. I'll go around to 6 o'clock. So it's bang on 6. And now I'm going to put the minute hand on by doing the same thing. So I literally drop that in place, make sure it's bang on 6 o'clock. Look how much better these hands are than the original. So they're longer, they're broader, so you're going to get better loom. You're going to see them clearly, and they work in tandem with this dial design. So I'm so happy with this choice so far. So now again, hand pusher, I use one with a slightly smaller tip on it, this one here, and I'll push that in. Now I'm going to check everything lines up. There's not too much. I think that's sticking up a little bit, so I'm just going to gently press it down. Now you check clearance, wind the hands around to go around to the next hour. It's all good, doesn't snag anything. The hour and the minute hand don't clash, so don't want that. Don't want any rubbing going on. Now I'm gonna, this is the worst bit, it's the hardest bit, is getting this blooming second hand on. So it's lucky you've got Burgeon. Pick it up in the middle like that. And then I've got to very gently, it's good to use a loop if you've got one, gently place it on that tiny little pin in the middle. Should be resting around the pin. This second hand took me literally 10 minutes. I had to take a breather. I was borderline losing my mind. It's so hard. But this is the proof of the puddings when you push this in, and the reward is that ticking second hand. You haven't fudged it up and it works. So now we can pull this out and check everything lines up. There's no snagging of hands. So that second hand needs to be tapped a little bit just so it's not springing up a little bit. It's got a long lollipop on this end, so I don't want that catching on the minute hand. So the minute hand's a bit high, so I'll do the same. Just going to gently tap that down a bit, just clears it. So I'm happy with all the hands. They don't snag, they all line up, everything's spot on. I'm going to take this carefully out of the movement holder and place it on the cushion. Then I need to just take this crown back out so I can get the watch all put back together. So this is very fiddly again. Now I can place this over here, but before we do that, my trusty puffer friend, I mustn't lose that, and that needs to go in as well. Just puff here in case there's any debris. Have a closer look, there's nothing under there or on the dial, and the same under here on the glass. Then place the case over the movement. One final puff just for good measure. There we are. And now I'm just going to very gently line things up. So we've got to get the movement gently back into the watch, and we've got to make sure the crown lines up as well. Now all I had to do was the same in reverse, screw the case back on, and I also re-lubed the gasket in there, made sure that was safely in place, put the crown in, made sure everything lined up perfectly, and now it's time for the big reveal. I'm going to put it on its strap. We're going to get to see the loom. I'm going to show you outdoor shots and it's all done. Happy days. Now here it is all loomed up. BGW9 on the dial to match this BGW9 in the bezel insert. C3 in the hands, C3 tip on the second hand and on the lollipop, so you got a lovely bit of contrast, and you can see that second hand so clearly. The lengths are better, everything lines up. Really happy with this. Now you're going to get to see the full effect of this watch outside, and that's how we're going to finish the video, so see you in a moment.